So, here in the magical world of episode 3, we see that those wacky SSS guys are at it again, making another diabolical scheme to take over Purgatory.
Jibray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
So, their plan this time is to use a band as a diversion to allow them to break into Angel's domain. Ooh, I bet that won't be anticlimactic in any way. Then, Otonashi talks to the leader of the band, known as Iwazawa, because it says so in the script, why not? And in true Maida fashion, she immediately starts spilling her guts about her crappy past. Just like real people do, right? Why, just yesterday I got on a bus and sat next to a guy who proceeded to tell me in graphic detail all about the small peasant family he butchered while on duty in Afghanistan. Why is it that in Maida's crazy little world, everyone has to have ridiculously tragic backstories? Does he think we won't care about these characters if they're even slightly realistic? So anyway, the Three Stooges meets Laurel and Hardy try to break into Tenchi's lair, which it turns out is just a normal room. Called it. And of course, none of them question why an angel who works for God would live in a dormitory room and need a password to protect their laptop. Sherlock Holmes these guys are not. Where's Detective Conan when you need him? There you are, you little prick. Get over here. These idiots need your help.
Yeah, buddy.
Then our brains are bombarded with another mind-boggling stupid scene. So the gist of it is that a bunch of teachers come in to stop the distraction band whatever thing playing and try to take away their instruments. Now, you really need to think about this scene, right? Because this would make sense in the context of a normal school. You know, a bunch of teachers coming in to stop a band playing. But remember, this isn't a normal school. So why did the SSS let the teachers try to stop them playing? Why didn't Yuri station a sniper or two to blow away anyone trying to interfere? I mean, the distraction is kind of important, right? Also, it's been established that all the adults and most of the people here aren't human. They're just like computer programs or something, or whatever. Hey geniuses, did you think any of this through? Yeah, it's a nice looking scene, but none of it makes any sense. On that note, how does this school even work? In some scenes we see them walking around with guns, they install traps in the hallways, put rockets on people's chairs, fire bazookas, kill giant fish and serve its corpse on school property, and that one guy even walks around 24/7 with a fucking axe, but the teachers don't seem to give a shit. But when a band plays when they're not supposed to, you know shit's gonna get real. Hey morons, just shoot 'em!
Shoot with a gun! That's what the bullets are for, you twit!
Then, while we're still reeling from that last attack on our intelligence, we are kicked in the balls with one of the most bizarre scenes in the whole series. So, get this, when the robot programming ghost whatever teachers try to stop them playing, the series suddenly changes pace and becomes like the end of a Titanic movie. All of a sudden they have this big emotional scene with that Aizawa character playing a ballad, and there's people are running in slow motion and the audience is crying and there's this really dramatic music going, and it's like, what? Where the hell did this come from? Keep in mind, this is only the first episode where we ever really get to see this character. And even then, it was only for like a minute or two. And suddenly, they're giving her the send-off of William Dafoe in Platoon. I mean, this type of really dramatic and outrageously drawn out send-off shouldn't happen to a character who's only been in like 3 scenes so far. You see, in the words of a far wiser man than me, you have to set things up to pay them off. This scene just leaves you feeling awkward and wondering what the fuck's going on. You see, if you set up a character well over a couple of episodes, give them depth, and allow us time to get to know them and like them, then when they do actually die, it will be emotional because we're invested in them and we like them. And that is when this scene works. This scene doesn't work 30 minutes into an episode that has nothing to do with this character and who we've never seen before. I know it sounds like I'm bitching about nothing here, but this scene is just one of many similar scenes in this series where stuff happens that is just expected to make us feel emotional without any kind of setup, relevance to the story, or anything. While we're on the subject of anything, did you guys know that my next movie is almost finished? Yeah, it's called Das Moonboot. It'll be exactly the same as Das Boot, but on the moon. I showed a special screening of it to Roger Ebert, and he blew his brains out all over the wall. If that's not an endorsement, I don't know what is. So, next is episode 4, and our first official filler episode. I think, since theoretically one could argue that all of this series is filler, but whatever. So, basically the gist of this episode is that the SSS want to enter and win a baseball tournament in order to piss off Angel. Again, just to point out, a massive essential underground Rhineland building weapons for these guys, just to win baseball games. Let's try that equation, shall we?
The ball goes up,
the ball comes down.
Now, just to clarify, I'm okay with a story slowing down from time to time, to allow for a nice change of pace, some comedic moments, or just to give some side characters a little screen time. But I strongly feel that a story should never, under any circumstances, come to a complete halt for these reasons. Or any reasons for that matter. Especially when you're trying to tell a complex tale with an extremely large cast. I guess the writers just thought it was absolutely essential that we see these characters playing baseball. You know what, I'm just glad there wasn't a beach episode. So, if you're still alive and kicking at this point, you'll go into episode 5. And again, the SSS are trying to get their diabolical revenge on God who destroyed their lives, this time by messing up Angel's test scores. For fuck's sake, the Care Bears are more badass than these guys. How would messing up her test scores help anything? I mean, who's making these plans? Dick Dastardly and Muttley? We're now 5 episodes in and nothing of importance has happened. You know what, just for kicks, let's compare other shows to see where they were by their 5th episode. Let's look at Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. So, by the 5th episode, we already know a lot about our main characters, Ed and Al, and the world that they inhabit. We know what their goal is, and more importantly, why. We see how they tried to resurrect their mother and fucked it up, losing their limbs and whole bodies. We are introduced to a whole host of characters who will be central players in the story, and even at this point have been given a great deal of development, such as Mustang and Hughes. We see how Ed and Al quest for the Philosopher's Stone begins, with Ed joining the army and becoming a state alchemist. We see how they are shaken and changed at the death of Nina. They learn about the Ishival Civil War and the military, and all this is in service to the plot. Everything that happens here comes back into the story in some important way. Nothing is wasted and there's virtually no filler. Ed and Al don't spend half the series fighting against someone who later turns out to be a brain-damaged hick that can only speak one-word sentences and who was actually trying to help them. Nor do they challenge these guys to a baseball game or try to mess with their tests. They do what they fucking need to do, and things happen. Interesting things that make sense. So anyway, they screw with the tests and Angel is demoted. You know, if they really wanted to get rid of her, they should have just planted cocaine in her room. I mean, they can make anything with dirt, right? It's how I get rid of people I don't like. Oh, this episode's still going, is it? Okay, so to test if anything has changed, they try the meal ticket stealing operation again. You know, the classic. But Angel doesn't interfere, and instead seems only to want to eat her favourite food. This baffles Yuri, who can't understand why an angel would need to comfort herself. That's not much of a surprise. Escalators probably baffle Yuri. But I digress. This leads to her finally being able to put 2 and 2 together and ponder if Angel really is an angel. But before she can confirm this theory, everyone is arrested by the new school president, and rather than just shoot the bastard, they let him take the grip away, thus ending episode 5.